creature on it. And I'd look at that and I would, well, what is that? And so finally I got the guts to ask him a couple of days later, what is that on your shirt? He said, that's a Bigfoot. And I was like, whoa. Because it also had all these places, like you have a rock concert shirt with all the places, and it was all the places that Bigfoot had been seen. And we got to talking, and he kind of filled me in on Bigfoot, and I said, oh, like the Bigfoot in the Northwest. And he said, yeah, except they're right out here an hour from Dallas. And it just blew my mind. And so I asked him, hey man, you got anything to read on Bigfoot? And he said, yeah. And so he brought me the book by John Green, Sasquatch the Apes Among Us. And in a few nights I had that whole book read. And so in there, of course, in Texas, at that time in 1976, because that was the date of the book, there was about 30 stories of sightings in Texas at that time. So that really shocked me. So when I brought it back to him, he asked me if I would like to go out on a research weekend with him. And I said, sure. I mean, this was a fascinating, mysterious subject, and I love mysteries. And so he took me and some others. There's a park about an hour and a half from Dallas called Cooper Lake State Park. And outside of there was a lady whose property he was researching on. And so we got to the Friday night, we showed up at the park and we were camping overnight. And I heard wood knocks for the first time outside the park over in the woods way off somewhere. Then the next day we went to the lady's house and she shared her experiences to us of what was happening on her property. And so by that night, which we were staying on her balcony of her barn, we were going to see what was going to happen. Well, my adrenaline was already flowing because I'd never done anything like this before. So that night, we're up there on the balcony, about 11 o'clock. All of a sudden, behind her house, dark area out in a rural area, was this tree break. I mean, the stress on the tree was incredible. I'd never heard anything like it. And then it broke, and it was like a rifle shot. The lady also at the time had 3 dogs under her carport, and those dogs came out running and ran back into that back and was just barking like crazy. Eventually it came back. Well, I'm asking my buddy, I said, hey man, what is this? What is going on? And then he tells me, he says, well, it's letting us know that it knows we're up here. And I was pretty impressed with that. But it took time because actually what happened was the creature circled where we were at, and it took its time. It got off into a set of woods to our right, and there was this loudest howl that was weird that I'd ever heard. And we didn't know what to think of it. We just called it the sick coyote, but it was loud and terrible. Then after a while, it came behind us, whatever it was, and there was a huge wood pile in the back with tin and just junk. And all of a sudden, something's back in there just rattling, messing with stuff. And I'm just, the whole time, well, what is going on here? So we're just up there and this is happening. And then about 2 o'clock in the morning, out to my left, in the woods, it sounded like cheetah with Tarzan. Like a monkey out there in the woods, going through its, all the stuff. And I was just shocked. And the dog, one of the dogs from the house, came all the way across to us and went on out into the woods and was barking at whatever was out there. Okay, and when the dog came back, the monkey sound happened again. So that was my initiation, my first night into this. And so that really got my blood going, got my adrenaline going. And so I was cooked into that. So at this time, this was the initial forming of this group that we had in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so the following summer, we came back. We were back over at Cooper Lake. We went over there a lot of times, had a lot of things happen. But this next thing, it was Memorial Weekend, 2001. And so a group of us went into the back of the park and we camped overnight. And so one group was off on these trails hoping to catch, a Bigfoot moving over in this particular area. Where my buddy and I, we were set up with a tent and some chairs looking down into a little ravine. Behind us was the trail, the hiking trail and the course trail. And so we're there about 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're both seated looking down into the ravine. And this something passed behind us on the trail, and it made the awfulest noise. It was like and went right on by us. And so whatever it was upset that we were right there. Went off into the woods to the side and kept making the noise, and then it moved off away from us, still making that noise. And so we could never figure out, what the noise, why it was doing that. And so, and what did we call it? We called it raspy among ourselves as we talked about that later. Well, eventually I bought the CDs, the Sierra Sounds, and listened to that. And one of the things that Ron Moorhead talked about on that tape was there was vocals that were made of the creatures that they were listening to that was unhappy, that was agitated. And it was the exact same sound that I heard, my partner and I heard in 2001, and that sound from Sierra Sounds was like in the 1970s. But it was the exact same sound. So that's just a couple of stories. But like I say, I've been involved with this a long time. There's a lot more stuff, and maybe tomorrow night I'll share some stranger aspects of this. But that was just kind of my initiation. So thank you.